Yesterday, if you were on my live, I talked about God is doing it bit by bit. Trust the process. That should be posted, I told you, by Wednesday. And I just want to reiterate that God is doing it bit by bit. He can't give it to you all at once, whether that's good or bad. He has to give it to you in pieces so you can really put together the puzzle. He has to bring us through stages, okay? So there's levels to this thing. It's just not bada boom, bada bang, and there you have it. There's levels. So really appreciate his timing, respect his timing. Understand that his ways are not like your ways, his thoughts are not like your thoughts. Understand everything he's doing. Take yourself out of the situation, like almost step out of the box, right? I'm pretty sure if Adam and Eve would have stepped out of the box to see everything that God provided, had given them, they wouldn't have been so easily manipulated and pimped out of their purpose, okay? So you want to step out of the box to see the vision, to see the bigger picture, because sometimes when we're in the box, right, when we're in it, it's hard for us to see. Picture yourself stepping out of the box to see the bigger picture, to see who's coming at you, to see who you're entertaining, to see who you're having these common basic conversations with that aren't going anywhere, to see what it is that God is saying, what it is that he's doing. Step outside of the box. Take yourself out of the equation and see that thing from your spiritual lenses. You want to see things the way God sees it. You want to see things the way he sees it. So you want to step outside of yourself, your will, your emotion, your thoughts, your own mindset, and really take on the identity of God and the way God sees you. So this brings me to my next point. I also told you about 2 days ago. So if you haven't listened to my YouTube, what is it? This is designed to be temporary. Go to my YouTube, Prayer Over Matter. I have part 1 and part 2 up there, okay? I talked about in that video to increase your faith and decrease your flesh. You want your flesh to decrease and your faith to increase. The word of God says sin cannot dominate me. Sin cannot dominate me because Jesus Christ is Lord. One thing is for certain, two things are for sure. Most of us can't even have authority, or most of us don't even have authority over what we eat, okay? So if we can't take a grip, or if we can't get in grips of the food we eat, what we drink, what we're putting in our body, we definitely won't have the power nor the energy to fight the enemy when he attacks us. We're just not going to do that. We're not going to have any energy to fight the enemy because our flesh is dominating. Our flesh is dominating. And I know the word of God says, don't share when you're fasting. Don't look a certain way. Don't share it. But I'm going to share this with you all today because I think you're going to find this to be very helpful for your life. So about 3 weeks ago, I started to daily fast, okay? So what that means is my last meal is I try to eat before 8 p.m. daily. Sometimes I go after 8, sometimes I go before 8, depending on what the activities are of the day. When I eat my next meal the next day, that is around no earlier than 1 p.m., no later than 3 p.m. So my first meal of the day is between 1 and 3 p.m. Now, during the course of this time, do I get hungry? Absolutely. Do I feel like little hunger pains? Absolutely. Do I want to eat? Do I crave eating? Do I desire to eat? Absolutely. Okay. But one thing I don't do, what I'm learning during this time, is that my flesh must submit to the will of God. My faith must increase and my flesh must decrease. So what I'm doing is I'm giving of myself. I'm saying to God, you are more than enough, more than worth, my praise. You're more than my praise. You're more than my prayers. You're more than anything. And I surrender. I turn over my plate, because from this allotted time, I want you to know, God, that I need to hear your voice, and I need it to be clear, and I need for everything to be precise, and I need to know that I am in right standing, and I'm decreasing my flesh because I no longer want it to dominate. Okay? I no longer want my flesh to dominate. I don't want it to dominate, right? So I say no food between this time. No food. My mind is so set on that. It's not even funny. It's not even funny. Sometimes, when my children's dad is picking them up, he said, "Hey, I had an extra sandwich. Oh, what time is it? Don't want it. Sorry, don't mean to, it's no disrespect. Just don't want your sandwich." Right? "Oh, you brought me a coffee? Don't want it. I can't drink any coffee or anything like that until after 1 p.m. Okay? And I'm so gung-ho on that because my flesh must decrease. It must have no power over me. It cannot dominate me. It cannot lead me, right? So think of it like this. Most of us, we navigate from a place of our emotions. We allow our emotions to respond for us. Now, I told you this before. The mind is slow, so you have to make it do what it needs to do. You have to make your mind catch up because your mind is slow. I also told you yesterday, I'm almost done. I have 2 more chapters of the mind glow up, and I think it's going to change your life. So the mind is slow. You make it do what it needs to do. You tell it which way to turn. You tell it which way to go. You tell it it can eat. You tell it it cannot eat. You tell it it can go beyond the barriers. It can break obstacles. It can tear down walls. You can do that. So if you're not seeing that being done in your life, that's no one else's fault but your own. That is a personal issue, okay? Unless you are held bound by chains, physical chains in which your eyes can see, unless you are being held at, GUN point, you should be able to move beyond the barriers and the obstacles of your life, okay? It's a mindset. It's a mindset. Now, problem is, if you can't manage the food you eat and take control over the food you eat, how are you supposed to manage and take control and have control over the bigger things, over the bigger issues in life? So fasting isn't just, oh, I want to lose weight. Now, with the way I'm fasting, there's health benefits to it, but that I'm not really, my mind is not really there, okay? But I understand that when I fast, I'm also gaining physical benefits from it, along with spiritual. Remember, the word of God does not come back void, okay? His word does not come back empty. The very thing that it was sent out to do, it will do, right? So the word of God says, may you prosper in health as your soul prospers. Fasting is an advancement of the soul. Does something to the soul. It brings healing to the soul because it allows you to connect to God on a deeper spiritual level. So when you fast, there's something being done in your soul. There's some renovation being done of the soul. So when the word of God says, may you prosper in health, even as your soul prospers. So what it's saying is, as your soul prosper, you will prosper in health. That's physical health. That's mental health. That's emotional health. That is even financial health. As your soul prospers, your health prospers. It works hand in hand. God is not, he is so intelligent that he put everything together, piece by piece, bit by bit, and it all makes sense. He's not that, it's not that complex to figure out. The enemy tricks us into thinking that it's harder than it is. Reading the Bible is harder than it is. Fasting is harder than it is. Praying is harder than it is. Our circumstances are harder than they are. Our experiences were harder than they seem, And so that's how he pimps us out of our purpose, because he tricks us. He's just over here tricking us, and we're allowing him to prostitute us on a corner and just give up our destiny and give up our purpose and give up our blessings. So we're being pimped by the enemy. Someone that God said you have complete authority and dominion over, we're being pimped by. Okay, I don't want to be pimped out of my purpose or pimped out of my blessing. So because I don't want to be pimped by it, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and fast. I'm going to go ahead and increase my faith. I'm going to go ahead and decrease my flesh, because I need to be 10 toes down on business, standing on business, doing what it is that I have to do, even when I don't have it all together, okay? Because I don't. I'm not perfect. I don't have it all together, but that's the beautiful thing about the God we serve. You don't have to have it all together. God uses the ones that are most unlikely to be used. Okay? He don't put the ones in the forefront who has perfect vision. For what? If you have perfect vision and you can see, you don't need the eye doctor. Okay? You have 20/20 vision, you're good. Those who have glaucoma, cataracts, nearsighted, farsighted, need bifocals, we're standing in the line to see the eye doctor, okay? So those are the people that God uses. The people that visions aren't that perfect. The people that people would deem to be less likely. I know I said a lot. And I know I probably spoke very, very quickly. And that's because I have a lot of work to do, but I did not want to let the day go by without you knowing that your flesh must decrease. And some of us say things like, I'm starving. I can't do it because I'm starving. I don't think you really understand what starving is. You got to be very mindful of the words you speak. You ate 4 hours ago. You ate 8 hours ago. You may have even eaten 24 hours ago, but you are not starving. You are not starving. You might be hungry, but you're not starving. I correct my children all the time because you never want to really know what starving feels like. And we have overused that word. A lot of us have never experienced starvation. And a lot of us have never experienced what it really means to go hungry. And so if you want to say, hey, I'm hungry, that's fine, because you are. You probably are hungry. Most of us are greedy, though. Most of us are greedy. And most of us eat from our emotions. We're emotional eaters, or we eat when we're bored or when there's nothing to do. So technically we're not even hungry. We're just bored. So if, like I said, step out of the box, really evaluate what's happening in your life. Man, write it down. Some of us got to write it down. I ate 5 times today. I snacked 6 times today. What the heck, right? What the heck is going on? Oh my gosh. And sometimes you might not be able to just go cold turkey. But when you see it written down, tomorrow I'll snack 4 times instead of 7, right? Tomorrow I'm going to eat 3 meals instead of 6. I don't know what you're doing in your house. I have no clue. Only you do, but step outside the box so you can see it for yourself. None of us really know what it means to starve. Go to countries and go to homes and go to children who really understand what it means to starve. There are kids in this world, even in the country you live in, who their only meal is School lunch. That's their only meal. School lunch. Okay? I remember when COVID was happening and my son's school still handed out lunch and breakfast. And I couldn't understand, like, so parents could go pick up the lunch and the breakfast for their kids. And I couldn't understand why, if they're home, why are kids, why? And the lady said, there are a lot of children. There are children who this is their only meal. Could you imagine? I'm sorry. So when we use words like we're starving, really understand what it is that you're saying. Really know what it is that you're saying, because there are real people out here starving. There are real people out here. There are children out here who have homes with no food. And so it made me be more appreciative of, even the smallest little thing like eating an apple or, eating a grape. And like I said, I correct my children all the time. When my son comes in from school, he goes, I'm starving. Honey, you don't know what starving is, and you will never want to know what that feels like to really have to starve. Okay? I get really emotional about kids. I mean, my heart literally breaks for children. Because, they didn't ask to be here and they don't have a choice. They don't have a choice how they're loved. They don't have a choice what they experience. They don't have a choice. And a lot of us, when we were younger, we didn't have a choice. And now that we're grown-ups and we're adults, we have to learn how to navigate through life. We have to learn how to be bold and courageous and confident. We have to learn how to be these people that we were never really given the opportunity to be. And I'll say this to you 1,000 times 1,000. What you've experienced in your life was not your fault, but your healing journey is 100% your responsibility. That brings up the next good point. So imagine all the children in the world who are growing up under tough circumstances, under lack of love and lack of support. And you're sitting here as a grown adult, can't even get yourself together. Well, how are we supposed to pull up the next generation if we're all a mess ourselves? And I get it. Life is hard. But one thing is for certain, two things are for sure. Life is going to continue to keep on lifing, okay? Life is going to continue to keep on lifing. I cannot wait around for someone to apologize for hurting me in order for me to increase my faith. I cannot wait around for someone to show me love because I know that I'm deserving of it. I cannot wait around for that. I cannot wait around for my knight in shining armor, my Boaz, to come save me because I'm a damsel in distress. I cannot wait for my Snow White and Cinderella moment. I cannot wait for that. I cannot do it because there's someone who needs me. There's someone in this world who needs what I have to say. There's someone in this world who needs my children. A boy came to my house, my son's friend. Now, my son is in 6th grade. His friend is in 5th grade. But when they were both in elementary, they were very close They were close. So we're sitting on our couch on Sunday waiting for Salvatore to go to his game, his soccer game, waiting for his dad. And we get a knock at the door. We get the ringing of the doorbell, and then we get someone peeking through the window. So my son goes, "That's Danzig." So I said, "Well, open the door." So Danzig comes inside and he's like, "Hey, hi, Salvatore. Hi, Miss Nocella. How's everything going?" And we're like, "Danzig, what's going on with you?" He says, "I have a game." "You have a soccer game?" He plays soccer for the community. So he plays rec soccer, right? He said, "Yeah, I have a soccer game. And I was wondering if you can take me to my game." So I looked at Danzig because I know his dad and his mom. So I said, "Well, where's your dad?" And he goes, "My dad's at work." I said, "Well, where's your mom?" He goes, "I just ran because I can't be in that house anymore. My brother grabbed me. My parents yell at me. I just can't be in that house anymore." And I said, "Well, where's your game at?" He said, "It's at Bowtie. That's a field close by." He goes, "I was going to walk, but your house came up first." And I said, "Well, I'm going to have to call your mom because I can't just agree to do something without your parents' consent." And then I said, "Salvatore is going to watch his coach's soccer game. Is that something that you might want to do?" He was like, "Oh my gosh, yeah." So I called his mom, and his mom was like, "Absolutely not. He's not behaving," and all this type of stuff. I realized Danzig is very, very sensitive. He's very sensitive. And so when his mom came to get him, he left, but he looked so sad. And I looked at my son and I said, "Salvatore," I call him Salvi, but I said, "Salvatore, you're going to have a lot of friends like that who just want to run away and go to your house because for some reason you're a safe place for them." I said, "You always have to be a safe place for people." So imagine if I'm just sitting on my problems or allowing my problems to sit on me, not educating my children, not doing anything to equip them to be better human beings for their generation. Okay? So when I tell you your problems aren't meant to harm you or meant to keep you stuck, they're really there to advance you and to advance the next generation and the next and the next. I mean, it really is like that because we learn from our experiences. And because these things happen to us, unfortunately, they just don't happen to us. They happen for us to create like stepping stones for us to really propel or really progress. Okay? That's what they're for. If if you knew as a child you didn't like to be treated a certain type of way, you didn't like the abuse, you didn't like that type of stuff, you didn't like how that made you feel, then why do we project it? Why do you project it? Why are you mean to people? Why are you too harsh? Why are you unforgiving? Like, I mean, I get it. We can easily say because that's how I was treated. We can say that. We can say that. We can definitely say that. But we live in a world where there's so much technology and there's so much access and resources to help. And then we can't just allow ourselves to sit on our problems or our problems to sit on us. We just can't do it. We can't do it. I don't know, you could be mad at me, but we just can't. We can't do it. I can't allow childhood issues to dictate how I raise my children. Now, I do catch myself sometimes talking like my mother. "Boy, sit down." That's my mom. That's how my mom spoke. "Girl, sit down. Boy, sit." So I'm not saying that you have to be this perfect being. What I'm saying is You have to be a better being, better than the last, better than what was given to you, so that your children can be better than you. Okay? And don't get me started with parents being in competition with their children, because that's just disgusting. And parents being jealous of their children's success and all that type of stuff. You want your kids to be better than you. You want your children to advance further than you. That's what you want. That's the goal, right? So we have to do better. We have to be better for our children so that our children are the best of themselves for their generation. If parents would instill, morals and values into their children, we would have less bullies. The reason we have so many bullies is because there's a lack of love, a lack of support. There's abuse. There's belittlement. There's dehumanizing. There's all types of abuse happening in the home. So no one is building up these children. No one is adding value and self-worth and love into them. A lot of these kids are in the system in foster care and not giving the love and support, so they come out as raging lunatics. Okay? Because there was no parental guidance. No, the parents aren't getting help that they need. And because they're not getting the help that they need or the resources that they need, they are raising their children in these awful environments. Environments where it's hard for you to breathe. A lot of dysfunction and chaos, yelling and screaming. And the children that make it out of those environments where they're successful, glory be to God. Because the fight that they had to fight at an early age is a fight that some adults could never do. Okay? Some adults can never take on the battles that some of these young children are doing. So it's important to get help so you are better for your children, and so that your children are the best of who they can be.